I'll lay out sort of the benefits of that.
Sorry
I'll
about
lay
that
out
if Brad hit.
no worries. I'll lay out the benefits of student registration and making sure that students are really prepared in advance for the fair. And really, we'll be able to take some questions. I'm going to run through it rather quickly, although we will supply some materials after the meeting so that you won't be left, with a lot of questions and no ability to execute what we're asking you to do. So, really quick as an overview, today we're going to talk about student registration. We're going to talk a little bit about school counselor tools. I want to talk to you about your fair host reports, and then we're going to take a quick look at the event day materials, which you already should have, but if you don't, watch your email Friday and Monday because those are going out again. Okay, so first we're going to start with student registration. Why is it so important to register students for the college fairs? Well, when students attend fairs without a barcode, the exchange of information at the college table is typically relegated to a student filling out a prospect card. And while most prospect cards are short, this still becomes the main focus of the college table visit because that's just an administrative task that the students have to do if they want to have a follow-up from that college. So with the student barcode, students can simply present the code for scanning by the college so they can focus instead on what the table is designed to be, which is a conversation about whether students and colleges are a fit. Because the student fills out their profile in advance, they have more time and can really take their time to present themselves in the best light and the way that they want to present themselves. We also capture electronically in this student registration form a lot more information than prospect cards. So colleges really do get a more complete picture of students when they have a barcode versus that pencil and pen exchange, pencil and paper. So not to mention, obviously, that electronic data is more reliable, always legible, and easy to import into the college data system. Students with barcodes see 3 to 5 more colleges at fairs than students without them. So getting students registered in advance is a service to them and to the colleges who are trying to collect good data. The student barcodes really help us return to the real focus of a college fair, which is students and colleges having meaningful conversations and being able to really easily continue that conversation after the fair. On my screen now, you see the TACRAO website, the TACRAO homepage, and a QR code for you to get to that page quickly to encourage student registration. Later in the slide deck, I'll remind you of the materials that we've been emailing out. So this is just a quick at a glance. So what does student registration really look like? It's a 3 to 5 minute process of filling out the basic information that colleges need in order to help determine fit. So we certainly collect the basics, name, address, phone number, email, etc. But we also collect graduation year, academic interest, when do you plan to begin college? Because some students may know they're taking a gap year. And all these things help colleges to understand exactly how they're recruiting each student and where to put them in their follow-up efforts and their follow-up communications to keep it smoothly running between the college fair and the afterwards, what we call comms, communications. After the student information, the next page is fair selection. And I want to make a note when registering, don't be concerned if this page takes a moment to load because there are 426 fairs in the schedule this fall. And so that just takes a minute. Well, less than a minute, it takes a few seconds, but you can filter by region for a more manageable list. And you can see that I called that out with a little arrow there. So when you load the page, all the fairs are up, but you can filter by region, which is particularly useful.
Holly, if I could just add one other thing they can do is Control F and search the page for the specific event name.
That's true. That's true. Good call. Thanks, Jason. After students register, and you can see it's a relatively quick, painless process, which it's important to take a beat and remember how much advantage you get from a very quick and painless process, because when they come to the fair really prepared in this way, they're going to have a much better experience. The colleges are going to have a better experience. And truly, the fair is going to be better because it's just streamlined and people are moving through it more fluidly. At the end of the registration process, the students will see a confirmation page. A lot of times students will take a screenshot of this, but we do also email and text these codes to students to make sure that they have them. So now's a really good time for me to call out a strange but interesting note of what's been happening in Texas for the last couple of years. And I think this may just be due to lack of understanding of what was being asked and required of the students. So at TACRAO fairs for the last couple of years, we actually saw a very high number of students registering for the fairs, but a very low number of students getting scanned. And what we think happened is they thought that registration was just registration and they didn't really need to do anything after that. So this is an important thing for us to emphasize. That you need to bring the code with you to the fair. You need to have it ready, have it on your phone or have it on a piece of paper in your back pocket, but be ready to present it to colleges when you visit their tables, because that's really the whole point of registering. And so we have some hypotheses as to why there was such a high number of students registered and a low number of students who got scanned, but we really do think that it's possible that people just didn't understand what the ask was. So we want to make sure that, yes, we show you that student registration is easy and explain to you the benefits, but also really emphasize that as we promote the registration process, it's critical for students to bring the barcode to the fair in order for it to be an advantage for them, the colleges, and the fair experience in general, for them to, all be advantaged from the work that students put in to get registered. So just a quick note on how important that is. And then we support that, like I said a moment ago, with, of course, the code on the confirmation page, but then we send an email and then we also send a text if they included their cell phone number. So we're doing our part to make sure that they have that code and they remember to bring it with them. But this is a really important element that as you promote it and as you talk to your kids, if it's at your school and they're your students, and even if they're not, in whatever efforts you're making, thank you in advance for making them, to get students registered, you're really emphasizing it's not just a register for the fair and you're done. It's a register because the barcode is a huge use at the college fair for everyone involved. So make sure that you bring it and present it to colleges to get scanned. Okay, so I wanted to move quickly through what we call our counselor tools, our counselor dashboard, counselor account. We use at Go to College Fairs, we use a few different names for this service, but basically it's a full service counselor account and reporting dashboard so that school counselors can track and manage their students' experiences at fairs. Three of the most popular elements of that account are student attendance report, which is helpful for counselors who offer excused absence or extra credit for the fair, because this shows obviously who attended. Again, we see that they attended when they get scanned at least once. So again, make sure students are getting scanned. The second report that counselors love is what we call student interest, which is a report that shows which colleges a student visited at the college fair. Really helpful. You can pull that up for counseling appointments and say, okay, let's see who you visited, who did you like, who do you still need to connect with? And then what we also call the college interest report, which shows it's actually a 3-year look back at the colleges that scanned your students the most. So it'll give you, you can sort it by these colleges scanned my students the most. And actually that's really useful if you were in charge as the school counselor. If you're in charge of planning college visits, you might want to reach out and say, hey, your school has demonstrated over the last 3 years a particular interest in our students. You're in one of our top 5. Would you like to come for a visit with our students? So those are some, but not all, of the features on a counselor account. And so we have those available. It's free. It's just a service that we provide here at Go to College Fairs to make sure that we're supporting the counselors, even as you support the barcode and scanning system. The last thing I want to mention is this is also where the counselor can do what we call express registration. So we recognize that sometimes getting students, especially in Texas, I'm sure these schools are huge, and sometimes getting students to register is a challenge. So I'm going to go over a few tips and tools of how to maybe assimilate this into your fall. But one of the really easiest ways is express registration. So on your counselor dashboard, there's a little button that says pre-register students. you pop into that, select the fair, and then you actually can upload a spreadsheet of students and they're all totally registered. So that's really helpful if you're really busy and you're finding time or compliance to be an issue. We'll send you a little bit more about that after the meeting, Jason, if that's okay with you. In the interest of time, I just want to make sure that we can send maybe just the article out on how to express reg students. I think that would be really useful. We know that TACRAO does appreciate, the Texas schools do appreciate express registration. So you can learn more about the counselor accounts with the QR code that I have on the screen, but just wanted to do a real flyby of counselor accounts. Then the next thing I want to make sure that you know is after this meeting, we aren't going to necessarily stop talking. So a great example would be you're wanting to do an express registration. So you want to make sure that you do that right. Go to College Fairs has several ways that you can get in touch with us. Certainly you can email us. I'll show that email at the end of my presentation. You can call us, but easy ways for you to connect with us immediately are the chat on our website. So that's live people from 9 to 5 Eastern. And then we also have a really robust help center. You can access that just on our homepage. You can click the help center or the chat, which I've pointed out with arrows. And then this is a little bit what the help center looks like. So you'll be able to pop into school counselors as a card there, and you'll be able to read up if you need to on express registration or anything else that we're asking you to do. Or certainly, like I said, you can open a chat with us. We love to chat with school counselors and support them 1,000%. So just a couple ways that you can reach out to us and connect with us after this experience to make sure that you feel supported and you know how important your partnership is to us, and we support you really well. Okay, so I know that some of you are school counselors, but all of you are fair hosts. So let's talk about the fair host reports. We send these out on Fridays. We've just been doing this past week a little bit of work in the deliverability of these emails. We know that some folks are experiencing different blockers and not getting these reports. So we have two ways that we want to make sure that you're getting your report. We are emailing it weekly. In that weekly email, there's a direct link, so you don't have to wait for the email each week. This is a live report. So as a new student registers, that's going to be on your report immediately. So inside the report is a direct link that you can just click to see what's happening, what's the latest with your college fair. But we also have a support document if you're not able to get the email for any reason. Could be a firewall block at your school, could be a lot of reasons why the emails don't flow successfully to you. If you need help getting your fair host reports, reach out to us and we'll make sure, well, you got to reach out to me and probably Jason and Rennie so that I know that you're the right person who should get this information. I can't just hand out student data willy-nilly. So just make sure you include those guys. And then we'll make sure that you get your report and see everything that you need to see. So what that report's going to look like, and actually Jason and I agreed that after this, we will also send you sort of a one-sheeter on how to get the most out of your reports. But what this sheet looks like is just what you see on my screen. I blurred out the personal data for the obvious reasons. And you can sort this by registrant type, which is going to be useful for you as you approach your fair so that you can separate out the colleges and the students and be able to see a meaningful report on different registration types. So just a quick note, to see your colleges, you actually don't want to pick the college reg type. You actually want to pick TACRAO member and TACRAO subscriber because that's the way that we classify them this year. So again, we'll send out a quick one-sheeter on that after the meeting. And then the last thing I want to make sure that everybody is up to speed on is that I believe we have sent out the first of these emails. If not, they may be going out next week, but you'll be getting flyers of really just event day materials. So we want you to prep in advance. We want to really support you as you prep in advance, getting these kids registered individually or through express registration. We really want to make sure you understand the why behind the student registration and feel 100% in support of it and supported in doing it. But then, of course, there's going to be things that pop up on event day. So we do have a couple of marketing assets for you that we've developed, and those are going to come to you via email. Let us know if you don't get them, but they look like this. And that was a rapid fire overview of everything Jason asked me to talk about. So Jason, I want to make sure that I covered everything. Is there anything that I missed? And are you ready for us to do some Q&A?
Jason, you're muted. King.
Yep, I got that. um, so as far as additional questions, we will be for the Dallas area reps. I will be sending out an email through my bulk email address that'll include the resources that Holly mentioned. So do be on the lookout for that follow up. If you do have any questions about logging into that event, logging into the counselor portal, please let me know, and we can be sure that we can get everything correct out to you guys. But are there any questions with regards to the student registration process?
So Jason, if I can jump in, somebody direct messaged me a question,
Yeah.
but I think it's a good thing for me to publicly answer it. So thanks for your question, Nikki. Her question was, if a student used the incorrect email address to register, is there a way to correct it, or do they need to fill out an additional registration? Great question. And it covers everything that they might need to change or update or adjust on their registration. The bottom line is they do not need to fill out an additional registration. We actually don't recommend that they do that, because then they're going to have two barcodes and which one's the right one to bring. They can go in and modify their registration instead. So if you go into the TACRAO website, there's a way to modify registration. That's a much more efficient way. They don't have to replace everything that is correct, and they can just go in and tweak anything that isn't. I hope that's helpful, Nikki. And I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that would be true, not just of the email, but of anything else that might have been a typo or whatever in the initial registration. Yes, the answer is yes, of course, they can modify their registration.
So even if the email is incorrect, they'd still be able to re-log in using the incorrect email?
I mean, so what I think you're asking, Jason, so what she asked was if they use the incorrect email to register, what I took that as was inside the registration form, but I think what you're saying is if they registered and their username and password was like their username, their email username was incorrect. I mean, as long as then actually they just need to do another registration. That one they would need to do another registration because they've set up credentials with an account and the credentials are not right. Yeah.
Thank you.
No, it exists, but it's just incorrect.
So we have from Miss Pena, will all the reps be prepared to scan barcodes? Last year they had a large turnout and many students weren't scanned. One thing I can say from TACRAO, and I don't know if Rennie's still on the line. Let me see if he's still here. But for TACRAO, we have made a really big effort to push student registration and also to include increased registration for colleges and universities which use the scanner app. Holly, can you mention how many schools may have registered so far?
Actually, Rennie has that report. I don't get that report, but Rennie gets it. You need to let him unmute himself, but Rennie's the college fair chair for TACRAO, so that's why Jason and I are both lobbing this up to him. Jason, you need to allow him to
and he should be clear now.
Okay. And actually I send a report to him, so he might have more accurate and quick access to numbers of how many colleges are registered than I would.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, so we have about 70 or so colleges that have purchased scanning this year. And so we're hoping to increase. We continue to send communications out. It seems like every other day. We're really pushing this. And so we're hopeful that, we're telling the colleges that high schools are going to actually really try to get their students registered so that they can purchase the scanners. Because there is a fee for the colleges to do this, right? And so if you have the opportunity to get your kids to actually register for the fair, the colleges are more than likely willing to purchase the scanners.
Yeah. It's a little chicken or the egg, and I understand that. But one of the other things that we did at Go to College Fairs was we really reduced the rate for TACRAO colleges to participate to try to encourage them to adopt again this year after a little bit of loss of confidence based on this weird thing that I mentioned earlier where a ton of students got registered. We expected everybody to have their barcodes out and ready to go. And like students just didn't have their barcodes out. And so we really, there's a gap in our understanding as to why that happened. Not something we want to spend a ton of time on, because what we just want to do is fix it. But what we did was we made it more affordable for colleges to be able to do that, just as a little bit of an inspiration for them to kind of circle back and adopt it again. Because to tell you the truth, Jason and I talked, we giggled a little bit about how long we've been working together. TACRAO used to be one of our strongest states. And what if I may, one of my hypotheses is, as new counselors or new folks have come in, maybe they just did not understand what the ask was. So that's why we really want to make sure that we're doing sort of a re-education process on both sides of the table this year to make sure that you become, as you were before, one of our strongest states in the barcode and scanner program. So we can get there. It's historically possible. We just have to do the work to get there again.
I actually just pulled a new report, and there are 92 colleges that have purchased scanning.
That's great. Yeah, I'm glad to see that and every time we pull that report, Rennie and I see that trending up. So that's really good. But it's like I said, it's a chicken or the egg. They need to know that you guys are committed to getting your students registered, and you guys need to know that they're committed to having a scanning app to make that worthwhile for your students and the time that they spend and the time that you spent making it happen. So this is why we're doing all these meetings and webinars, to make sure we re-educate and re-inspire to adoption.
From Kayla, marketing materials should come out into this week, early next week.
So Rennie, I think
I believe we already sent them out. So if we had your correct email address in our listing, we've already sent them, but we're going to rely on our regional coordinators like Jason to also help us get those out to you guys in case you're not getting our mass emails for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I will say there was one big thing that we got accomplished this week that should make our emails more deliverable. So hopefully you'll get it this coming week, because we're going to send, I think we're sending them out. Are we sending them out every week, or are we not sending them out again for a minute?
I think it was every week.
That was the college thing. Let me quick look at the schedule.
Okay.
Maybe take some other questions while I peek at that, Jason.
Let's see if we have any other. The QR code will come out in with as marketing materials. How do you access the counselor portal? So we have been forwarding out those links to them. Holly, if there's any way you could send me the links, I can also send that out via my bulk email to see if that's able to get to them too.
1 second. Yeah, you know what, Jason, how about you and I huddle after this meeting and you give me a list of everything that you want me to get over to you so you can get it to your folks. And thank you to everybody for being committed to getting what they need to do this process.
Sure. Let's see.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to walk and chew gum at the same time. I'm looking at.
If a student doesn't have a home email address, can the registration still be processed?
Give me 1 second. I'm sorry. Just want to answer the question. Counselor student registration. So that, Rennie, is scheduled again to go out on the 2nd. And then, so it went out on the 26th and it's scheduled to go out again on the 2nd. Do you want to maybe schedule it one more time? We can talk about that, but just so that the people on this call know to look for that on September 2nd, which I think is not the holiday. Yeah, well, so you get it on the 3rd. Yeah. So we scheduled that just twice. If you guys think that you want it one more time, if you have a fair later in the season, you want it more, fresh in your inbox, we can certainly look at that. It's up to Rennie. Okay, Jason, I'm sorry I put you off on a question because I was trying to sort out the schedule. So what was it?
Actually, another question came in, which I think we can add to it. If a student doesn't have a home email address or a home phone number, can they still register? Can they still do the mass registration?
Yeah, so this is an interesting issue. I want to make sure that I say it in everyone's hearing. You do not want to express register students with the counselor email. Like sometimes every once in a while, we'll get a counselor who just drops in their own email in lieu of the student's personal email. And the school phone number in lieu of the student's phone number. That's not helpful because colleges are blocked from being able to follow up with the students if they don't have the information that the students that's student unique. So I just want to make sure that I say that. It's a weird thing when it happens. I think it's because people don't understand what they're being asked to do and what this data is going to be used for after the college fair. So if they don't have an email, that's going to be a challenge because you need an email to create an account and register. You could certainly use a parent email, some kind of an email address for a student that's just family specific, right? So we don't want it to be the counselor email or generic email at the high school, but some kind of family specific email is going to be important. And then lack of phone number is not necessarily a blocker. But lack of an email really, really sort of is because if you don't have either one of those, the college is really going to have a difficult time other than sending mail, which is fine. They're happy to send mail, but you can't really create an account without an email address. So some kind of a family email is what we'd be looking for there.
All right, Holly, thanks so much. Are
Yeah.
there any other questions that we can direct to Holly? Oh, well, thanks so much for your time. I've got a quick presentation. I'm just going to cover a few of the basics on hosting the college fairs and tips and recommendations I give to event coordinators. So Holly, thanks so much for your time, and we'll certainly communicate with you on those additional items to send out to the coordinators.
Thanks, Jason. I just want to do a quick flash on the screen of an email and phone number if you want to reach out to us directly. If there's a way that we can support you, of course, I recommend that you include your regional coordinator to make sure that I know who I'm talking to and what I'm permitted to provide to you. But I also don't want you to be blocked from connecting with us at Go to College Fairs for any reason. So remember the chat, the help center, our email, our phone number. Please reach out to us. We love to support you. We know that the work you're doing is really important. So thank you for that. And thanks for having me today, Jason. And I will leave you to it. Thank you again, guys. Hopefully talk to you all soon.
Thanks,
so
Holly.
much, Holly. We
Bye-bye.
appreciate you. All right, let me pull up my quick rules and regs. We're just going to go through this pretty briefly since you hopefully have seen this information in the past. So you should see my presentation screen, and we'll just go through the responsibilities and recommendations for host TACRAO events. So we've agreed upon dates and times for the event. If there's any changes to this, please notify the coordinators so we can notify our membership as soon as possible. As a host of an event, you do have the right of refusal for any invitations that you have received. One of the things that I think Rennie will need to talk about updating this for future years, but with moving to the new registration system, there really isn't a need to send out invitations in the way that was required in previous years. But certainly sending confirmations, we'll talk about that in a moment, is important. But you do have the right to refuse any registrants that you have received. And I do advise event hosts as you're going through your list of registrations, if you notice that there is a school lacking that you want to include, then you may need to invite them directly. And you may need to even deny some registrations to provide more room. And you do have that right to decline any of the reservations that you have received through the TACRAO website. We do ask that you publicize events to your community in a timely fashion, so the students are not only there but also prepared for the college fair environment. We use live, let's see, go to the next page here. See, recommendations, provide map and parking instructions in the confirmation, include student numbers as expected, and the release schedule. So knowing how many students to prepare for. And again, TACRAO encourages that you send in juniors and seniors first, followed by freshmen and sophomores or any other classes that you choose to send. We want to be sure that we have appropriate number of materials for those that are coming to us sooner. So having that information in the confirmation certainly helps us arrange that as we prepare for the event. Include a list of any other high schools or middle schools that might be invited to the event. Again, giving an estimate of how many you may expect will be helpful. For military recruiters and tech and vocational school recruiters, we do request that these be housed separately from the college fair. If they are housed in the college fair, we will ask that you do limit any demonstrations. I can't tell you how many times competing against a pull-up bar by the Marines is very difficult as a college admissions officer. So if they are on site, we encourage them to be there to provide their resources to students. But having that kind of activity in a collegiate academic environment can prove difficult. We do request that schools limit daytime fairs to 2 hours, nighttime fairs to 3 hours, which I think everyone has been doing. We do ask that full-time staff be available during the event. Parking signs outside the event to direct recruiters are always appreciated. And refreshments are completely optional, but we do sincerely appreciate having water on hand. And I'll talk about another recommendation about that in a moment. Let's see. So some of the responsibilities that admissions officers that are attending your event are expected to abide by, and we do encourage that you relay these rules to them. Admissions reps should receive a copy of these guidelines, so anyone at the event should already be familiar with these. But we request that schools appropriately train their representatives, that they're able to answer questions knowledgeably, that if they are sending alumni recruiters, they are expected to abide by the same guidelines. We do direct our participating schools no swag. So no t-shirts, buttons, pennants, candies, other gimmicks. Again, we don't want to get into an arms warfare where we're trying to bring in better and dinkier trinkets to pull interest from students. Pens and pencils are certainly and materials are certainly acceptable, but if you do have a school that is giving out banners or t-shirts, please ask them to limit it to what TACRAO recommends. Tabletop displays should be limited to 36 inches. So we do prefer that organizations don't have like the 6-foot tall banners that they bring up, because that is distracting and does impact that professional atmosphere that we hope to somewhat have at the college fairs. Reps shall remain at the program until the time expires or until an event official dismisses them. So certainly if you do notice the college fair is kind of starting to die down and perhaps some of your students are sitting in the bleachers, if you want to cut it off 15 minutes early, I'm sure the reps would appreciate that. We do encourage our reps to stay, but in some instances with travel times, they may need to leave a little bit early, but hopefully they'll speak to you before if they do have to leave early. We do ask that schools limit it to 3 attendees. However, some schools may bring more. They may even request additional tables. So when you're accommodating schools, if it is a big school, you know they're going to have a lot of interest, maybe allowing additional reps would be considered on your end. And then institutions may reach out and request an invitation. You may find in schools reaching out asking to accommodate if your registration is already closed. That is within their right, but again, you do have the right of refusal for any requests. Other final miscellaneous tips and tricks. Table setup should limit student access behind tables. We have had situations of reps having materials stolen. So we do want to keep students on one side of the table and reps on the other. Reps should not be allowed in front or on the side of their tables either. They should be behind. While video is no longer prohibited at TACRAO fairs, We would recommend that you curtail any audio output. I can't tell you how many times I've been set up next to the Texas A&M Corps of Cadets recruiter, and appreciate their fanaticism for the A&M, but hearing the fight song 28 times can be very exhausting. So do limit any audio output that schools may have. With respect to the RSVPs, we encourage that you include parking directions, the students expected in attendance, the high schools attending, info on meal snacks, student release info, rep check-in requirements. Having water delivered during the event is very appreciated since we're often unable to leave the tables. Having a refreshment of water during the event can be a lifesaver. So do encourage you to consider having students or someone deliver those during the event. Is incredible. Have a space to accommodate reps if the event space is not open upon arrival. If you're like hosting in the cafeteria and you have to have it cleaned first, having a space, since some reps will arrive as early as an hour before the event. If providing takeaway bags for reps, please avoid chocolate or other items that might suffer under the Texas sun. And then finally, what I tell all event coordinators is relax. For the most part, as long as you have tables, as long as you have students, the reps that are going to be attending have done this hundreds of times before, and that's all we really want when we're attending the college fairs. So again, my contact information for any of the Dallas reps, don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions. Are there any other questions that we might be able to answer for you guys before we close our session for today?
Yes, Jason, I got one from Matt. If
Yeah.
they wish to cancel a university's registration, where do they do so?
You should have the university's information, so you would need to reach out to them directly and decline that invitation.
Yeah, it would be on that report that you're getting that has their contact information for the person that registered for the fair.
Now, I will say that I know we have had some of our fairs that have decided to close their registration early for colleges, and because there's a little bit of a delay, you might get some overage. And in that instance, I know I'm encouraging college reps, the event coordinators, to forward that information to me, and I will decline reps in that instance if they've closed registration. But if they have registered for the spot, they have in essence gotten confirmation through the TACRAO website that they're registered. So you would need to revoke that that reservation. Any other questions we can help from anyone today? Let me go into my chat and make sure no one's submitted anything. Stop share.
And thank y'all to the Corpus Christi area counselors that joined. Appreciate it.
Oh, and certainly reach out to Rennie if he can be of any help. And yeah, thanks so much for joining us today. I know I'll have my email sent out probably, if not today, then certainly tomorrow. I will let the Dallas area folks know I'm going to be in Oklahoma recruiting next week, so I might be a little slower in my replies next week. So do exercise a little patience with me, but we'll certainly get you taken care of. And again, thanks so much for your attention.
Thank you, Jason.
Have a great fair, guys.
Bye, y'all.